Welcome back to our shop just outside Kennesaw here in North Georgia. Well, the other day I picked up this little table. I'll show it to you in a minute. It was painted just, oh my God, it was horrible. Let me show you the pictures of the top. And now I'll show you the pictures of the legs and the apron. And as you can see, the top was painted in, God, I don't know, some god-awful gold with a brown glaze and dripping polyurethane all over it. And of course, parts of it were sanded off to make it look old. And then the legs were painted purple, or I guess it's purple or violet, or I don't know. And the aprons were painted black. Well, long story short, I bought the table for 20 bucks only because the people that had it were in a terrible financial situation and needed to get out of their house. And sad story, but I just figured it was just kind of a piece of junk and maybe from Malaysia, and I would just fix it up and sell it on. Well, when I went to move it, I noticed it was pretty heavy, and that was my first clue that something was up. And then when I put it in my truck, or went to put it in the truck, I pulled out the drawer, and the drawer is handmade, homemade, and it's made with beadboard. It's made out of southern yellow pine. Well, they don't grow southern yellow pine in Malaysia, best of my knowledge. And the drawer is, in places, 2 levels of wood thick. So then I flipped the table over when I put it in the truck, and I saw the apron was made out of southern yellow pine. And I knew that this wasn't a table from Malaysia. So I took a look at the underside of the table, and it looked like it might be straight grain walnut, but I couldn't tell. So I stripped the top off today, and in fact it is walnut top. Now unfortunately it had been nailed down to the apron and split, so the top's got to come off. There's all sorts of work that's got to be done to bring it back, and we've got to keep it looking old at the same time, so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Well, then I moved on to the legs. And I don't know if you can see here, I'll bring you in, but the legs are, I don't know what you call that color. Is it purple? I don't know. And the aprons are black. Let me show you what I found when I stripped those legs off. That's walnut. Solid walnut turned legs. And I'm just kind of wiping this with a damp rag so you can see the grain. Now I don't know how you can think that that is an improvement over that. But anyways, this is a legitimately old primitive table. I don't know how old it is. You can see the hardware here. It'll give you some idea. And the oxidation in the corners where their paint didn't get to it. There's the southern yellow pine. It's turned quite dark. Here's the underside of the walnut top, and you can see it's just split really badly here. And the drawer has a locking mechanism in it, and the original catch is in the underside of the table still. So that's going to be our project. I'll be honest with you, I did an introduction to this project about an hour ago, and I said some pretty unkind things about people who, in my opinion, destroy these antique pieces without knowing what they're doing, and I decided to leave that out. So we're just going to move forward, and we're going to make this thing spectacular, and someone is going to absolutely love it, because it's hard to find, because it's a small farm table. It's an original, if vintage, if not antique, farm table made out of solid walnut and southern yellow pine. Someone's really going to want this when we're done. And I was able to pop out a plug that was in the tabletop, and then I'm taking my little knife here and I'm trying to clear it up, but you can see there's an old screw that's holding the top to the legs. There's also, I'm going to really have to work on getting this out, there's also nails that someone has driven in that have to come up. But if we get these screws out, this one here is going to be problematic. This one here I've already got it most of the way out. We should be able to get this piece of the table off. So let me get to this. And what the issue is here is that the screw is captured with, it looks like wood putty was put in at one time. And I've got to get that cleared away so that when I get a purchase on that screw, the only thing I'm fighting are the threads. It's not pinned in with this wood or this putty. And this is what I'm using. It's just a carving chisel, a little carving chisel I have. That's looking better. Let's see if we can get that out. Here it comes. Alright, it's just turning, which means it's stripped in the end grain of the leg assembly. So what I'm going to try to do is get up underneath the tabletop and put some upward pressure on the tabletop as I'm turning the screw to see if we can get that to lift up. Okay, I hope you can see I'm driven a wedge between the leg assembly and the underside of the tabletop, and as fate would have it, we have a nail very close right here. We'll very gently pry up on this because I'm starting to pull that nail up too. Boy, this is just going to fight me all the way. The last thing I want to do is split this top trying to get it off. And that's the screw from the other side. It's machine made. Back at it, let's see what we can do. Normally when you put this much tension on a screw, it'll come up. I don't know if this screw is just broken off in there or what. It's not, it's spinning, but it's not coming up. Okay, I've got two nails that are holding this in. I'm going to cut them and see if that'll release that screw. I'll bring you right back. Okay, the screw was not going to spin out, and I had to actually break the nails. Basically, I just hit them with a crowbar until they snap in the middle. And let's see if we can get this off. There's just all sorts of wood filler and stuff in there. Boy, what a mess. Okay, they're not cut nails, they're just regular wire nails. And you can see that's not the way to attach a top, and that's why it's split. And it's a tongue and grooved joint, and it's just absolutely packed full of filler, and it almost feels like rotten wood. Okay, it's off. We'll repair what we have to and we'll rejoin it when the time comes, but that's the major issue with the top, and we're on our way to getting it resolved. This split top must have been a problem for a while, because what I'm pulling out right now is actually fiber material. I can't remember what you call this stuff. It's a fibrous material that they used to mix with pitch. I don't think this has got pitch in it, but this sure is not wood filler from modern times. Let's see what else we find in there. Yeah, here's some more fibrous material here. There's been more than one temporary repair to the gap in that tabletop, I'll tell you that much. My goodness. Look at all the stuff that was in there. Okay, I'm going to clean that out and let it dry overnight. And you're looking right down at the top of the table leg, and what you can see is that it's made out of a solid piece of walnut. You can see the growth rings. This is actually probably one log that was just squared off. And then interestingly enough, you can see the lines that were drawn in here so that the piece could be mounted on a lathe and turned. There's the center mark right there. Really cool stuff. There's all sorts of fill in this joint that have to come out before we can do anything. I'm going to just clean it out the best I can and let it dry overnight. And then you can see right here one of the nails that was pounded through the top to hold it down. Obviously, this is a modern nail, and we all know we can't nail tabletops down like that because wood has to be able to expand and contract, and when it can't, it splits. And that's why this tabletop let go. So we're going to have to come up with a correct method of mounting the tabletop before we do it. Alright, we've got most of what I'm going to call the macro stripping done. Got the majority of the paint off this thing. I'm going to have to spend some time with picks and wire brushes trying to get the last of the paint out of the turnings and the cracks. But you can see what we've got are 4 solid walnut legs. If you look at the top of them, they were turned out of solid walnut logs. The 2 side aprons are boards of walnut. The back apron is southern yellow pine, and the back apron, or the front apron actually, where the drawer would go, is southern yellow pine. And early this morning I came in after the top had dried, and remember we have tongue and groove attachments between these wide 3/4 inch walnut boards. There was some splits, and I took care of that this morning. We're letting that harden up. Then the second major piece is right here, and that was again nailed down. I think there was 12 nails or so that were holding that down, as well as the 2 screws. And I just drove wedges under there to get the nails up after I took the screws out, and popped it off, pulled the nails out, and we've got a repaired crack here. We've got a crack here that we've got to tighten up. That's a split through that's got to get glued. And then you can see the condition of the top here. So the tops are coming. The base is coming. I got to get this drawer front stripped off yet, and I'll be done with stripping for a while. Well, macro stripping for a while, and then we'll bring you back. You can see this beautiful walnut drawer front, and again, someone chose to paint over it. I have the table up on the work table here in the shop. I've got a series of picks and scrapers. And by the way, if you ever come across these picks, they use them for picking nuts. You know, they come in the set in a wood bowl with these things sticking out of them. They're great for the shop. If I find them in the yard sale, I always buy them. And then I've got some acetone and a brush. I'm going to start with a steel brush only because my brass brush is soaking right now to get the paint off of it. But if the steel starts to tear up the wood, I'll go to brass. And basically all I'm going to do is try to get the paint out of these nooks and crannies. It's all, you know, the paint's been compromised by the stripper, but it just didn't come out. And of course I'm using acetone. I've got a glove on. I've got doors are open, good ventilation. There we go. So it looks like the acetone is going to loosen it right up, and we'll be able to pick it right off. But that is my life for the next hour or so. So while you sit on your couch and enjoy your cup of coffee or tea or beer, I'm going to be picking paint. And we have this large crack that goes down this one leg. Remember, this was turned out of a solid log, a branch of walnut. And you can see over the years people have stuffed different fills in there to fill this in, to try to conceal it. I think what I'm going to do is clean all this wood filler out and then use epoxy putty and effect a more permanent repair using epoxy putty. Sorry for shaking you around, but there we go. But we've got 1, 2, 3 of these corrugated fasteners in here. I'm not going to try to dig those out. I'll make a mess if I do. I'm just going to leave them in there as part of the patina of the piece. But we are going to address this crack by cleaning it out and filling it with epoxy putty. As far as the red paint goes, we're getting there. We got a little bit still in this chip here and a little bit in some of these turnings, like right there, but in general it's coming out. Bring it back. And I've got the crack dug out, and you can see it's almost the full length of the leg, and it's pretty deep. It's going to take a lot of epoxy putty. So what I'll do is set the camera up and I'll show you how I do it for a short section, and then I'm just going to get to work. What I'm using is Mohawk's epoxy putty. This color is walnut. And they call it a Tootsie Roll epoxy, and basically there's two parts. There's a center core that's white and an outer core that's this. You just cut a piece off and you ply it together until it's a solid color, and then I'll just force it into these cracks the best I can. I'll overfill it a little bit, gives me something to sand it smooth. So here we go. And we have the epoxy putty in that crack. It's setting up now. We'll give it a little while and I'll come back and light sand it and touch up any places that I didn't get it forced all the way in. But I think it did a pretty good job. And while I was at it, I just rebuilt this corner here with some epoxy putty, and this one too. We'll smooth those out as well. And there were a couple of little filled voids in the log that were starting to come loose, so I pop some epoxy in those as well. Okay, we'll let this set up and we'll come back. And I've done a light sanding, and I really don't think there's any need for a second application. It's done exactly what we expected it to do. We rebuilt that corner. That's nice and square now. You can see from here. That line continues straight down across here. And this mess over here got a little attention. And then there were a couple of open fills from years ago that we took care of. We had a small crack on this leg. I also filled that. And we had a crack right here on the drawer, the frame, the face frame where the drawer goes, and I took care of that as well. So I think it's time to set this piece aside and let's get the top glued up. Okay, you can see the glue squeeze out. We have pretty much the length of the unstable crack, which is great news for the glue penetration that we got in there. And that's being pulled together. And then of course my rather unorthodox method of keeping things flat, application of all these anvil bodies, but it keeps the top flat and pinned right to the top side of the clamp bars. You can see we've got a nice seam there. This place here where it was shattered, we've got it pulled together fairly well. We'll probably have to use some fill in there, but there was some missing wood, so that's to be expected. Let's look at the other side. And we're nice and even there. Glue squeeze out all along, nice and tight. I'm happy with it. I think we're just going to let it sit and cure up overnight. And anything underneath that might have been drawn together when we clamped it will have a chance to adhere to itself with the glue we forced in. And again, if it doesn't, it's nothing lost. It's the underside of the table. All right. Good day's work. I got some furniture to deliver. This needs to cook. That needs to dry. We'll come back and we'll keep going on this project. So far, so good. We're about a half hour later, and I took the anvils off because I noted that they had taken care of the set. In other words, the table was humped up and the anvils drove it down and actually concaved a little bit. So what I did is I removed the anvils and then I clamped on these two 2x4s across there and then put a level across, not to see if the table's level, but to see if it's flat. And you cannot see any light underneath this. So I'm very, very happy that right now the table is dead flat. Tabletop is dead flat, which is what we want. And we're just going to let it dry overnight just like this. All right, I will see you all in the morning.